Today we're here with Aaron Armstrong. Aaron Armstrong is a really good friend of mine. He's also a taxidermist, a trophy room designer, and a hunter of 30 years, I believe, correct?
Actually, a little further than that.
More than 30 plus years?
Yeah.
And you have done some very serious hunts. I've seen some of the stuff you've created in your house. I've heard about the late night stories of people dropping off stuff at your shop in the wee hours of the morning, floating halfway across the world so they can you can make a 9-foot bear of some sorts so they can put in their house. And most recently, you just designed a trophy room that's about the size of most people's houses, about 2,000 square feet, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, the room itself's 1,400-ish square feet, 19-foot ceilings. Basically put a mountain in a dude's house.
Yeah. And if you've ever been to a Bass Pro Shops and you see the scenery around the Bass Pro Shops, that's essentially what we're talking about with the trophy room.
What
design.
it looks like.
1,600 square feet of it and a 19-foot ceilings. I've seen some of the progress pictures. Yeah, you're definitely away from some of the inner circle here off the podcast for all of us, working out and hanging out together because you were busy working on that job specifically. And so I want to kind of dive into your background. And I want to have you give an introduction for, your business as a taxidermist and also as a hunter, and just kind of give people, an introduction for a couple of minutes about you and your history.
Yeah. So basically I come from a pretty long line of outdoors people. My dad, both grandfathers, both avid outdoorsmen. My grandparents were mostly fishermen, did a little bit of hunting. My dad did a little bit of hunting again, passionate fly fisherman, trout fisherman. So I would say about the age of 5 is when I really kind of picked up that real love for animals that I can, really remember. And watching a lot of TV shows, if there was anything TV show wise, book, magazine, it had animals in it, hunting, outdoors, I was in it. It was really kind of the only way that
you were into it, or you were in the magazine?
No, into reading it, comprehending it. It was one of the things for me in school when if there was any sort of report I had to do or whatever, I tend to do it about nature, animals. It was something I would retain. If I was reading of Mice and Men, blow it. So I mean, it didn't matter. So if it, like I said, but if it had a shark attack in it, perfect, right up my alley.
All right.
He loved Jaws.
No, for sure. Yeah. So, but so from that point there, I'd gone with my dad, my godfather, Uncle Jim. So we'd go bird hunting. That was kind of my introduction to it. My dad taught me how to trout fish on the Middle Fork of the Cosumnes River. And that in itself was a lot like hunting because water's crystal clear, fish could see you, so you had to sneak up to the different holes and because they were wild trout, so they'd see you and they'd take off, they wouldn't bite, whatever. So there was a maturation process in that, and as I got older and got more into just wanting to hunt and pestering my dad to take me, we'd go different little day trips, weekend trips. And so once I got into high school, I was on my own fairly young, but I had, there was a taxidermy shop in Old Town Roseville, down where kind of like all of the bars and things like
Old
that.
Roseville.
Yeah. And so it was actually right down the street from where the Boxing Donkey is and things like that. So there was a fly fishing shop there, and there was a taxidermy shop. I'd go in those both days or both places on my way home from school, and I'd stop in and kind of harass Stan, who owned the fly fishing shop, and then I'd go over and I'd hang out with John until he closed.
Harass is probably an understatement.
Probably, yeah. So I again stuck with John, and I was 16-ish at that point, and had gotten kind of interned with him. Just I was coming by there every day, so I was like, "Hey, can I sweep the floor? Can I do this? Whatever." And so I hadn't really killed a big game animal yet or anything like that, but I always, I shot a pheasant, shot some birds. So he had a buddy of ours who's now a very good friend of mine who lived up in Red Bluff, and he was hunting bears with hounds, and that was kind of my introduction into big game hunting. Went up there, chasing bears and in Northern California with hounds back when we could. It's illegal now.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of where it all started right there. And I still have, so that bear, my former boss, John, he ended up mounting that one for me, the first bear I shot with Jeff. And then I still have it hanging in my shop to this day. So it's just kind of, he's since passed, so it's kind of an homage to him. So.
Where I've seen your shop. You have probably 30 or 40 pieces in your shop?
Yeah, that's not everything though. I mean, everybody else's stuff gets mounted first. There's a freezer.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all
not a
over.
lot compared to a lot of people that I know.
You're right, but for somebody like myself who's not around it all the time, when you see 30 or 40 different pieces, that's a lot to take in at one time.
Right. That's why it's near the front door of my house.
Yes.
So if you don't like it, you can leave. It's pretty simple.
It's a quick statement. Like, this is me. Like it or leave it.
Pretty
like,
much.
Get
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So that was your history for how you got into big game hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And you're obviously a taxidermist now, and you do trophy room design. But a part of all this is actually your career as a hunter. I actually got to go with you up to Oregon the very beginning of this year. You took me on my first hunt.
I shoved you into the deep end of the
of
pool.
everything.
Yes.
Yeah, and we went big game hunting.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to like reluctantly shove me into the pool. I was like, shove me, and you're like, okay, and you Sparta kicked me in the back, but I was ready for
Pretty
it.
much. Yeah.
So it worked out.
He liked it.
Yeah. Talk to us about your experience hunting and like 5 of your most favorite hunts. You also have one very intense hunt that you've told us a story about as well.
Yeah, I've got there's a couple.
We wanted to hear some of the experience for you as a hunter, because for people who have never done hunting before to any degree, I don't think that they understand the depth of hunting, the types of hunting, and also the money that's in hunting as well. Because I was blissfully unaware of all of those things until I went out with you.
Yeah, there's a lot to kind of go with on that topic. But when it comes to hunting, like I said, I kind of started, just deer hunting, local bear hunting, bird hunting, those types of hunts here. So when I had my first opportunity to go out of the country or even out of state, my first out of state hunt was to Colorado, and when I was 18 for mule deer. So it was one of those things, and it captured me really, really early on, was being able to feed myself from it. And
yes.
Especially since I was on my own at a very young age. At 17, I was on my own. And so buddy of mine, he'd pick me up after school, and we'd go, chase pheasants and hunt ducks and geese. And pretty much I ate that all my life. So there was a sense of pride, but there was also a sense of just knowing where my food was coming from. It wasn't coming in a foam bed and a cellophane blanket. So it was, I knew when that animal was taken, I knew how it was taken care of. And so I know how long it had been in my freezer. So, and just, it made me feel good to kind of have that connection to my food. So fast forward, going on these other trips and going, I've kind of been all over the place. And when we venture out of the country, I think some of these hunts get bad names or a stigma that's, tagged to it is called the trophy hunter.
Yes.
You are just a trophy hunter. You're just, shooting them for their head. Well, in essence, that's true. But it is also what is mandated by our own U.S. Fish and Wildlife and the USDA. The USDA won't allow us to bring back any soft tissue, any meat, anything like that. So anything we bring
from outside the country,
right? Canada, some things from Mexico. I mean, it's harder to bring stuff back from Mexico, but I've brought stuff back from Canada with no problem.
So Canada is the one that you could bring meat back from pretty easily.
Yeah.
And then fortunately, now that Alaska's been a state for 50-ish years.
Yeah.
All the big game hunting up there, it's states based, so you can bring it right back.
You can bring it right back. Yeah, there's no customs issues or anything like that, or the only thing you have to do is declare it when you come back into the state, but that's the state of California thing.
So since we kind of talked a little bit about the politics of hunting, let's dive a little bit deeper into that specific segment. So we had Doris Malakitas on, who was here a couple weeks back, and she talked about depredation tags.
Sure.
Talk to us or people out there about some of the ways that the land stewardship is taking care of the population through controlling the population with tags, or like ethical hunting and things of the sort within the realm of what the individual states are doing, but also those that are kind of shepherding hunting to the public are doing as well.
Yeah, a lot of different states. I mean, all of the states vary with regulation. So, I mean, there's some of the southern states that will let you take up to, a deer a day because the population is so high, it's so dense. Some of them have basically
a deer a day. That's a lot of meat.
Yeah, but a lot of population too.
Yeah.
The other thing is they'll make you shoot a doe before you can buy your buck tag, or make you shoot 2 does before you buy a buck tag. There's certain states that will make you do that. Because,
any reason for that?
Yeah, because of the buck to doe ratio. They want to maintain an equity in that. So where you're not having too few bucks and all these does, because then if you have does that basically aren't breeding, they're just drawing on the resources and on the environment, and they're not putting anything back.
For those that don't like guns and aren't hunters, but we're going to convert them by the end of the show, a doe and a buck is what?
Basically, the doe is a male or a female, and then the buck's going to be the male, or a bull is going to be the male in some animals, and a cow is going to be the female.
All right.
So
talk a little bit about tags and applying for a tag on like a public land hunt or working with a private landowner.
Yeah. So I think what you were mentioning before, like with the depredation tags, those depredation tags have to do with problem animals. So in the state of California, if you have livestock or, a crop, you have the right to protect it. And so if a bobcat is coming in or a mountain lion or bear is coming in and killing your livestock, your chickens, your cows, you can get a depredation tag and take it out of season, basically. So there's no season that basically locks you into that depredation tag. It's any time at that point. So with that, that animal goes back to the department too. Like you have to forfeit it. It's not something that you can even eat or whatever. They do whatever with it. I'm not exactly sure.
You're basically just killing it because you want to get rid of it, and then they handle the disposal of it.
Sure. Yeah. So with that, those come into play. Like with mountain lions in California, we have a huge problem with them because we don't manage predators very well.
And I don't think a lot of people would know that because it's not inherently obvious. Because
they're nocturnal.
Yeah, when we were up with Ben Rodriguez, who runs Help to Hunt, he's an outfitter up in Oregon. He said something to me. He's like, dude, if it's got claws or fangs, you get shot. You get shot on sight.
Yep.
And that just resonated with me because he's like, that's top tier predator. If those things just run out of control of the population, like they're just going to completely destroy the ecosystem.
True. Yeah. And with California, we haven't managed mountain lions in 50 years.
What about bears?
Bears get managed, and there's a fall season that you can, I think the quota is 1,750 bears for the state that we can take. And once that quota is filled, then they basically send out a press release and close the season. We used to hit that quota, and we used to hit that quota pretty much every year when we were able to run bears with hounds. Animal rights activists had taken that, basically lobbied to get that taken away, saying that it was inhumane to run the dog or run bears with dogs.
Talk about what it means to run bears with dogs.
So basically, you have basically your truck with a dog box in it that has your dogs in it, usually anywhere from 4 to 8 dogs in there, usually hounds. And what they'll do is ride around on mountain roads until you come across a fresh sign, and you'll usually have a dog either on the back of the box or on the hood they have a platform up there, and that hound will pick up that scent, and he'll usually bark, and you'll stop, check tracks, see which way they're going. Usually, if it's a smaller bear, usually won't turn out on it, but sometimes when you get a bigger female, it's a pretty good sized track. But that was one of the things that with running bears with hounds it let you do, because bears are really hard to identify sex wise. Until they get about 350 pounds, you could look at a male and a female and never be able to tell the difference. It's not like they have antlers. And so
Yeah, exactly.
you actually have to look at the genitals and look for that. And it's really hard too, especially different times of year, because the hair covers.
Yeah, and
So.
the ironic part and all of that is, of the bears I have seen, I've never seen a bear's ass. I've always seen a bear from the front.
Right. Yeah. So it's super hard when it comes to that. When they're in a tree and you've ran them with the dogs, you
Up
can
the tree.
and you can, or if they've got them bayed, which is actually kind of cornered, you can usually get around to take a look at them and see if that's an animal you want to shoot, because there's some big sows out there. As long as they're
A sow is a new term we introduced. What is that?
so that's
Female.
So in bears, it's sow and a boar. So sow's the female, boar's the male, and
Okay.
so just like with pigs.
Okay.
So,
And you wouldn't want to shoot a sow sometimes because
well, if it's a dry sow, meaning that she doesn't have cubs, and it is actually illegal for you to shoot a sow with cubs if they're accompanied with cubs at all. And then the other regulation is you couldn't shoot a bear that's under 50 pounds. A bear that's 50 pounds is an awfully small bear. That'd be usually, if it got separated from its mom, that'd be kind of the only reason why.
yeah.
So
That is a small bear, because I remember
Very.
there was we were up in Tahoe in November of last year, and there's these 2 black bears just coming into the campsite right on the water.
yeah, they're pretty.
And one
shut
was
off
limping
people.
around, and he had to be 400 pounds. So, he was a small one, and then the other one looked double his size.
Mhm. And
I was talking to a guy that had seen him before, and he had lived there, and he's like, yeah, these ones are small compared to the ones that don't come down here. And I was like, yeah, that would be scary to see a bear that's, over 1,000 pounds. It'd be pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, black bears aren't going to get that big. You'll get a big black bear 600 pounds. I mean, that's a giant.
Maybe the weights were a little off. Maybe it was a little bit more like 200, 400
Yeah.
that I'd seen.
Yeah, those are pretty common. 400-pound bear is even a huge bear.
Yeah.
I mean, I've killed a couple of them. They're big.
I want to go right into that, because I have seen the video of your bear hunt, which you said was like your most adrenaline pumping hunt you've ever had because of the way the hunt turned potentially very dangerous on you. Do you want to give the backstory and talk about the bear hunt you did in 2005?
Yeah. So, it actually, I hadn't really wanted to shoot a brown bear with my bow until there was a guy that he's a pretty well-traveled hunter, and it's Jack Brittingham out of Texas, and he had I'd watched a video of him shooting at the time the world record brown bear with his bow. And
what was the world record at the time?
I think that bear, I'd have to look, but I think he had 29 and some change inch skull measurement. So what they do is they measure them from the length and width, and so combine those two, and it's a giant bear.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
What was the weight?
That bear probably weighed in excess of 1,200 pounds.
That's a
Holy
14.5 inch head on average, width and length.
It was like a
shit.
Volkswagen stood up when he shot that, when he right before
With
he
a
shot
bow.
the bear, with a bow.
So
And
you
he had a pistol laying in the grass with him, and so that was
hopefully that pistol was packing a punch.
it was a Desert Eagle. Yeah,
Okay. So we're shooting some pretty hefty rounds.
and
into that
his
thing.
guide also had a weapon. So,
Got you.
That's usually not a hunt that a guide will do just solely on archery merit.
No. You have backups and
For
contingency plans in place. So
For
back to your hunt.
So yeah, once I saw Jack take that bear with his bow, I kind of had it in my head that
you had to beat him.
No, not at all. It was just
reasonable to do so with the bow.
I was like, man, that would be so cool to just see if I could make it happen. And so booked the hunt. Actually called Jack and picked his brain a little bit because I wanted to find out what he kind of did building arrows, and because a lot of people are like, oh, you got to shoot a fast arrow, have a fast bow. Speed doesn't kill, kinetic energy does. So I mean, it was more or less about getting that bow turned up as far as weight wise, so it was going to be able to drive a heavy arrow, but then when it hit you, it was going to leave a mark. So
yeah, your hunt was a flawless execution. So continue on.
Well, yeah. I mean, so booked the hunt, and actually 2 weeks before that, I went on an American bison hunt up in Canada because I built these arrows and I wanted to try them out, and so I
shot a bison with the arrows.
Yeah. Oh. So I ended up shooting him at like 5 yards, and the arrow completely passed through. He went about 50 yards and did a circle and died.
You shot an exit wound with a bow.
What's that?
You shot a bow straight through a buffalo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy shit.
It completely passed through him.
Well engineered.
Yeah.
Ready for the bear hunt.
Well, actually, no. So that was one thing that I there was a broadhead that I was using, and that's the actually cutting tip of the arrow that I had. It was one that I had never really put to use before. I'd shot some deer and things like that before this, but never used this head. And it has basically, it's a 2-bladed broadhead with 2 little, what they call bleeder blades that make an X. But one of those hit a rib on the way out or on the way in, and it basically made like a cut in that bison. So he bled like crazy, but there was maybe that much blood that ended up on the ground. And when you're archery hunting, that's not what you really want. You want to be able to.
You want to track to follow?
You want to be able to trail it. Yeah, and yeah, I mean that's kind of the premise of the whole thing. But it did its job, and he bled out in very short order, and I mean went 50 yards, and he was literally dead within about 10 seconds.
That's the way you want a hunt.
Absolutely.
I mean, want a hunt to be done fast.
Yeah, and so I mean, and it's incredible with when you're using. People don't think, oh, you're just it's archery. It's it's just an arrow. Well,
it's old school. It's primitive. You have to be within near touching distance of the animal to shoot it.
Yeah, but with the equipment we have now, it's so advanced. Like 60, 70, 80-yard shots are not unheard of. You can do them. The thing is that there's a lot of factors that come into play. Wind, stuff in between you and your target.
Yes.
And especially when you're out in nature, all sorts of things can happen. So, me personally, even as being a rifle hunter, being an archer too, I still want to get in as close as I can, because as much as I don't I don't despise people long range shooting, and I love the knowledge and all the premise behind it. But really, for me as a hunter, I like knowing that I got inside that animal's personal space and actually I fooled him. Like I won in his house. Yes. I went and slept in his bed while he was in the front room. So, that's kind of...
I just imagine the 3 bears, the mama bear, the papa bear, and the baby bear, and Aaron just like creeps up into their cottage bear and jumps in the bed.
Right. Yeah. No. Gotcha. But I mean, but that's kind of the premise, because for me, they're so turned on. As you've seen, when we were out there, they know what they're looking for. They know where to be. They know kind of where not to be. And they are switched on.
They knew we were there.
Oh, absolutely.
They knew it, and they were constantly on the prowl. Like that, we did that like 1 mile uphill hike because we had those like the little small herd that was basically right by the place we were staying. They saw us and they were gone.
They were gone, yeah. They weren't having that.
Yeah, you got to sneak and sneak and sneak, and so that's really what hunting is about. As you know, Alan's like hunting's. Alan, what did you say to me the first time I went hunting? Hunting is.
They don't call it hunting, or they don't call it catching.
They call it
hunting.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, back to the bear. When we went up there, I kind of did my research and did that buffalo hunt, and basically the only thing I changed was the broadhead. So I went to a G5 Montec, which was a 3-blade cut-on contact. As soon as that animal was getting touched with that broadhead, it was starting to cut.
So the idea was less penetration, more destruction.
No, basically it was just I wanted a hole. So with those 3 blades, it basically opens up 3 little flaps in there. There is no possibility for just that little slit knife cut in them, which that other broadhead had demonstrated with me with the buffalo.
Right, because we want the track for you to be able to follow the animal.
And with a bear, I want him to bleed, or any animal, just because that's how they expire. That's how they're going to expire quickly. So, and
can we talk about that a little bit?
Well,
the expiring quickly.
What's that?
You don't. Sorry, go ahead, Alan.
So the process of expiring quickly,
right.
I think when a lot of people consider hunter, they're like, oh, that's cruel, that's inhumane. You talk about wanting to have a clean hunt, and you talk about, wanting to have be in their house and to, do it the right way. Can you explain to people how, as a bow hunter or a rifle hunter, what you're doing, what you're looking for, the shots that you're looking to take that are going to provide you with the quickest kill, and why that is important?
Yeah. And two, I also want to set this out there too for everybody that has no idea what hunting or anything like that's about is, I love animals. I love nature. If it's about everything I have done in my life has revolved around animals, whether it be from hunting, fishing, trapping, I rode bulls professionally for 10 years. So, and all of those, even doing taxidermy, all of those come with a negative connotation because people don't want you to hurt an animal. I get that. As a hunter, I have 3 dogs. I mean, I'm definitely an animal lover. I love going and just viewing nature too. And because there's so many things, just like you've seen when I've taken you, Alan, out fishing, and when we're out there on the ocean, there's stuff that you're just going to see out there that you'll never see sitting on your couch.
No, you won't. I don't think Alan wants to go fishing with you again.
He will.
No,
he will.
Not in a negative way.
Hold on. I actually want to go fishing again. So as soon as the season opens up in August, if you want to go, I'm in.
Whatever. So, like I said.
Just not the swells this time.
No,
it's fine. It was like he said, it was the worst time we've ever been. And did I complain once?
No, you didn't.
No, that was one time you weren't a bitch.
Record that. That's a short.
I remember Alan texting me. He goes, "Dude, it was just puke and rally, and I just did it for 10 hours straight, and I just put my head down and got to work." And I think I texted him something along the lines like, "What a savage!"
Yeah,
it was like, "Good job."
It was a rough day. Yeah. So I commend him for not going and being in the fetal position and ending up in the cabin there. And stuff.
Your rotation was fish for 15 minutes, hang out for 15 minutes, throw up for 15 minutes, rest for 15 minutes.
Yeah, there was
repeat.
A certain amount of saltines and Gatorade and water I would drink, and then it was 15 minutes of feeling good, 15 minutes of feeling nauseous, 2 minutes throwing up, rinse and repeat.
Oh man, rough.
But anyway, so as far as the whole hunting thing and getting close, it's obviously because I have a huge respect for these animals, and especially now too, being a taxidermist. This is part of the job that I never really kind of appreciated until much later, after I took in several thousand animals over the years, after doing this for now 35 years. Shit, that's older than you guys are. But anyway, it's just that I see what these animals can endure. Broken bones. There's some pictures that I sent Scott of bears that have had abscessed teeth that has gone in, the infection's gone up and eaten their upper palate, and that bear's survived and been doing well. There was one I had, a bear that had a broken bottom jaw that was compound fractured, open sore. Bear was still living in fat, so it's like stuff like that. It makes me have a pretty high reverence for them because we're so soft. Like, thank God for knives and guns and, high powered calibers that we have and that we've created, because we wouldn't stand a chance against even against like 100-pound bear. Pound for pound, they're like, you wouldn't want to take on a 20-pound bobcat. Like, you would have a really, really bad
bobcat's day. Vicious.
No fangs, no claws.
Well,
period.
Right. And a feral cat is one of the meanest. A feral house cat is one of the meanest animals you'll ever come across. I used to run across them out at the river when I would trap out there back in the day, and they were the most vicious animal you'd ever come across.
And those guys are 10 to 15, 20 pounds.
Feral house cat?
Yeah.
No, they're your standard house cat,
no,
but they're just
6 to 12 pounds.
Yeah, but
I don't know cats. That was a
question. They're 10ish pounds, but still.
Now multiply that by 4. That's a bobcat, right?
Yeah, big bobcat's 30ish.
30 pounds.
I used to trap them a lot, and there's only been a handful that I've caught that are over 30 pounds.
So can we speak clearly here for people who aren't animal people? Bobcat, mountain lion, same thing?
No,
different things.
No, very different. Yeah, about. A big bobcat's going to be about 30 pounds and also has a bobtail, thus the name bobcat. They have about a 4 to 5 inch tail. Mountain lion comes with about a 3 foot long tail and can get up to about 180 to 200 pounds.
Holy shit!
Yeah. Could you imagine, as a fully grown man, I'm 210 pounds.
Wouldn't stand a chance.
Fighting with a 200-pound cat.
You'd be dead.
That's like me fighting my 10-pound wiener.
So
dog.
My neighbor, Dave, right? We also had him on. He runs the barbecue truck.
Oh, yeah.
He told me he got in Utah. They were out hunting elk, and he got in between a mountain lion and her cub on accident. And apparently they make like this, like whistling noise.
It's a high pitched little chirp that they make.
That's it. Thank you. He said he had never been so freaking scared in his life, because he's in this blind, and he starts hearing like this ticking noise behind him, and he knows, because he had called his buddy. He's like, "Hey, I've never heard this sound before. What is that?" Like, that's a sound that usually a mother mountain lion makes when it's communicating with its cub. And then he goes, then I started I'm not exactly sure what the sound was, but it was behind the blind. But long story short, he had to call, and he had to basically sit there and play the waiting game. And right as this mountain lion was looking to pounce on him on the blind, 2 buddies showed up in a UTV that had all the bright lights on it. And so they lit the thing up with bright lights, and the thing scampered away. But apparently, dude, he said he had never been like so amped up in his life. And he said he was just like literally holding on to whatever he had. I'm not sure if it was a pistol or a shotgun or whatever. Whatever he had, just like waiting for that fucking thing to come through the door. And if you're telling me it was 200 pounds, Jesus.
So
yeah, your average one's going to be 100, 120.
Okay, let's just say 120 pounds. Still, a freaking cat is 120 pounds. I mean, I'd say the average human is probably that size, right?
I killed one in Texas that was 120 pounds, and you wouldn't want to mess with them.
When we were up in Oregon, Ben shows me a picture. That was our outfitter. And he goes, "Hey, Curtis, look at this." And it's his buddy just holding onto a cougar, 200-pound cougar. Just got it from behind, head's right here, up underneath the arms. And he's like, this guy's 6'2". It's as big as he is. I tell you what, being outside in the middle of the pitch dark in Oregon, it was kind of nerve-wracking, because I'm like, is one of these cats going to come out of nowhere?
I think that picture that he showed us, that was Derek Wolf's cat. And Derek Wolf is a former NFL player, I believe. But he's a big dude.
He's a big dude, and it was a big cat.
And it's a big cat.
A
but
pet cat or one he killed?
No, mountain lion.
It was a cougar.
It was a
I thought
mountain
it was a cougar.
Same thing. Mountain lion, cougar, same thing.
Yeah, I know. But
yeah.
Mike Tyson has a fucking tiger. But my point
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
was this cat dead?
Yeah, it was dead.
Yeah,
it was,
okay.
it was when he
Thank
hunted.
you.
Yeah.
So
So
you're sitting here like some crazy NFLer has a cougar for a
no.
200-pound pet. Like,
no, but anyway.
Back to the bear hunt, because we went down and talked about a couple different things. We actually didn't let you finish on the rabbit. I'm sorry, finish. We don't want to let you finish going down the rabbit hole because we want to come up and talk about the bear hunt.
Yeah.
So you changed the tips on your arrows.
Yeah, so I went to the G5 Montec broadheads and set off for Alaska. Went out to basically fly into Anchorage, fly from there to King Salmon. King Salmon, you take another little plane out to a place that we call Sandy River, and it's almost to Cold Bay, which Cold Bay is the last portion on the mainland Alaska before you start out the Aleutian chain.
Okay.
So, seen Deadliest Catch, and when you start going out that succession of islands, you get out there, Dutch Harbor, Adak Island, and so Cold Bay's not very far from where I was at, and basically we set up our camp there, and Alaska has a rule where you can't fly and hunt within the same day, so 12 hours or something. So it keeps you from flying around in a plane and landing and shooting something. So with that, we basically set up our camp and went out to hunt the next day. I had brought both 375 caliber rifle and also my bow. So I figured I'd give the bow a whack if I could, if there was a place where we could find a bear and stalk one that was in bow range, then I would use my bow, obviously. And if I couldn't, then I was going to use my rifle. So the first day we went out, located this bear. She was all alone by herself, feeding on tundra berries. So the way the prevailing wind was blowing, we could have come from the beach side, but the beach side was the Bering Sea side, and there was about a 40-knot breeze coming off there. So pretty high winds.
So she would
have smelled us, yeah. And that's one thing for both black and brown bears. They don't have great sight and great hearing, but they have an amazing nose. I mean, their nose is incredible.
We were at a trap shooting competition, and a guy told me, he goes, your dog will know that you're cooking something in the kitchen. The bear will know what ingredients you put in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty phenomenal what they can smell, and what they can smell inside of sealed containers and all sorts of stuff.
So being upwind from a bear, not a good idea.
Yeah. Well, they're just going to run off. I mean, they know what humans smell like. And at that point, instinct takes over, and they take off running, and they're not going to stop. So we spent about an hour and a half, came off that hill where we spotted that bear, spent about an hour and a half. It was myself, my buddy Ken, he's a retired San Jose police officer, and he had a rifle. Our guide Ken, our guide Phil, he had a rifle also, but we got down there and got semi close to where the bear was at, probably within 100-ish yards. And I gave him my back at this point here. We still had video cameras, not just phones. So I gave him the camera and I said, just video this. I said, because I'm going to try to use my bow because she's in a good spot where we could make a good stalk on her and get close enough to where the bow would be effective. And I said, just get the shot. I said, unless she's chewing on somebody, just film. I said, not knowing what was possibly going to happen. So Ken and I had made our way closer to the bear. And mind you, there was nothing around as far as any sort of vegetation. All of it was just ground cover and ground up volcanic rock. It was on a cinder bar. So she was eating these tundra berries, and so we had a prevailing wind that was coming at us, or kind of quartering to us, and about 40 knots of wind. So it was a pretty high wind. So you don't want to shoot across that because it's just going to blow an arrow all over the place. You're not going to know where it's going to end up. So I could either shoot straight into it, which is fine, The only thing it may do is affect elevation, and still I want her close. So at the time when we made a stalk, we had a creek that a little creek bed that we were walking in, and it was so there was about a 10-foot, 12-foot elevation difference from where the area where she was feeding at to where we were walking down in that creek. And so we made our way to her, and it was about 60-ish yards, and we popped up to the edge of the creek there, and I started scanning for her, found her, and she was facing away from us, and which I call quartering away, but she was not dead butt to us, but she had a little bit of a turn, so she was kind of a little diagonal to us, and but still we'd be shooting in a crosswind, and she was 60 yards away, and there was no way I was going to take that kind of shot. So she didn't know we were there. We were good, and wind was in our favor. So Phil was was coming up just behind us, and he's like, "Where's she at?" And I said, "Well, she's right here. She's 62 yards." I said, "She's quartering away. Doesn't even know we're here." And I said, "So," and at this point here, I had already knocked an arrow in my bow. I had one ready to fire, so that's what that means. Is and because, like I said, I didn't know kind of really, if she'd moved, come closer, what the situation was going to be. So after I told him where she was, he kind of peeked up over the hill and then started scanning. Mind you, she's over here. He starts scanning, and
he goes left to right, and she's already on the right. Yeah.
Right. And so by the time he gets to where she is and picks her up, she picks him up. And she couldn't, from what I gathered, she couldn't really tell what he was.
Wait, the guide did this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're
not going to bring up old wounds. Continue.
Yeah. So anyway, he ducked back down real quick, and because Ken and I were, whispering at each other and kind of making a plan, because we were gonna go up the creek a little bit more so we could actually position ourselves directly downwind from her, so I could be shooting into it. So he ducks back down. He's like, "Oh shit, she saw me." And I looked over my shoulder, and I was like, "What do you mean she saw you?" He goes, "Yeah, no." He's like, "She stood up. She saw me." I was like, "Shit." I was like, "We just got through spending an hour and a half getting all the way over here, and walking through the tundra in Alaska is not exactly easy," and things like that. So it was just like, shit. And so again, arrow knocked and everything ready to go. I said, "Okay, well, I want to see if she took off." And from there, I just started peeking up in the direction that she was at, and to my surprise, she was not where she was at when we first saw her. She had now cut that distance in half and was walking right at us, and like she was on a string, and it was no sense of urgency, but she was coming to see what the hell that was that she saw. Yeah. They are king of the jungle up there for a reason, and there's nothing. They are the apex predator, so there's nothing that's gonna
scare them
off or anything like that. So at that point there, now she's at 30 yards, and she's coming. No, just walking, but coming. And so I ducked down quickly, and I was like, "Oh shit, guys!" I said, "She's coming. She's right here. She's coming right now." I said, "Ken, stay here." I said, "Phil, just move to my left. Just move." So off the edge of this creek, there was not a whole lot that was growing along it, just some low grass, but there were some high pieces of grass that were sticking up, and I didn't want to. Right where we were at, there was a bunch of it, and I didn't want to shoot through it. So I moved to my left about 10 yards, and when I did, I stood up, and at that point there, she saw me, and that's when she came. She started a full charge, and in that,
30 yards out, full charge, right at you.
At that time there, she was even closer.
So 20 to 25 yards.
Yeah, so she started that.
So you got 75 feet max between you and this bear, and she's starting to charge at you. What happens?
Yeah, so from that point there's no time to really do anything. So I come to full draw really quick, and is she's coming. She kind of has to come up a little bit of a hill, and then once she hits the apex of that hill, she's down and I'm standing here. So,
and here is right on the backside of the hill.
Right backside of the hill, and basically I'm in not quite in the bottom of the creek, but on the edge of the bank. And so she starts coming, and I mean, she didn't look at Ken, she didn't look at Phil, she just had eyes. And at that point there, I'd never had an animal lock in on me, look me in the eye, and then just come.
You were dinner.
Yeah, that was it. I mean,
yeah.
And so basically she got to the top of the hill, and that's kind of where my reference point was. She gets to there, and that's going to work.
Releasing the arrow.
Yeah, so let the arrow fly, and it hit her, and she made a big woof and kind of turned and like looked at me like, I still really want to just kick your ass, but that really hurt.
Yeah.
And so she turned and ran out across that cinder bar that she was on, and we watched her the whole way. And she ran out there about 200 yards, did that in about 30 seconds, sat down, and then fell down and died.
Okay, so hold on. This thing ran 200 yards in 30 seconds. So it ran
with
100
an arrow,
yards in 15 seconds with an arrow in it.
With an arrow straight through its heart.
How much time transpired between the time you realized it was 30 yards in front of you and you released that arrow?
20 seconds? Half a minute? 30? I mean, at the most.
So when she starts charging, how quickly did that gap close then?
Was that real quick? Because the thing was that at first, and you can kind of see it in the video if you it's on my Instagram, but
your Instagram handle is
_ Aaron Hunts _ I believe.
Yeah, _ AARONHUNTS _ and there's the bear hunt video is on there.
Yeah, so basically, as she's coming up that hill, all I can see as I'm seeing her, I'm seeing, or in the video where you see it, because I have clear view of her, you see basically ears, head, neck, chest, bear. And as soon as I got to bear, center of her chest, so at that point there, I was shooting a 28-inch long arrow, and there was that arrow hit her right in the center of the sternum, and it went through her sternum, through her heart, diaphragm, liver, and into her stomach. And so there was 24 inches of it in her and 4 inches of it sticking out, and she still ran 200 yards.
And so this is the common misconception that I think people have with bears, and I've heard stories, and I think you were the one that was telling me this. They have literally people have literally shot a bear in the heart with a shotgun. It's got no heart, and it's still got 30 seconds left of just destroying whatever it wants to destroy in those seconds.
If it wants to, yeah. I mean, there's animals in Africa that I've seen and heard stories of, Cape buffalo, leopards, lions that have been shot multiple times, with high caliber rifles in the right spot, and they're running off of nothing but adrenaline. And their job before they go is to take something with them, and it might be you. So, but
don't be lunch.
Yeah, and so I mean, with that, I mean, during that hunt, or during that whole little episode, mind you, I had 40 knots of wind in my ears, and so it was very windy, and everything got
really
very quiet, and it also went down to like almost a tunnel vision, and everything was in slow motion. So, and then as soon as shot was released, bear turned and ran. It was like somebody sped the tape up, sound came back, everything was back to normal again, and that's when kind of the adrenaline dump came.
And the bear claws on the forearms are because of that hunt. Is that
yeah. So I mean, both of those are, they're just kind of, I don't have any tattoos that don't mean something, and basically they're just kind of reminders when things are shitty. It could be a lot shittier.
Yeah.
I could have been pretty shitty.
Yeah, you could have
been lunch.
You could have been a bear shit.
That's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah.
So now
the video is crazy. I mean, it's basically 2005 tape cam recorder, but it's good enough for you to
GoPro,
see.
Yeah?
No, this is 2005.
This is before
GoPro. You can actually see how close it was and the shot that you put through. I mean, it's I mean, if you want to talk about being steady in a moment, you need to be steady. That video described the steadiness to a degree that was very much what you needed at the time.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. It wasn't anything that I'd ever want to have happen again, really. I mean, would I love to go shoot another brown bear with a bow? Absolutely, just because, like, that's a leveling, just that basically levels the playing field for sure. Yeah. I mean, not that a rifle doesn't.
It's probably disadvantage.
Oh, for sure, but I mean, but at the same time too, it can be done, but you can also you also got to be prepared to possibly lose your life too.
Yeah, it's a very primal way of getting your food. Like it's kill or be killed, or in your case, literally kill or you're about to be killed.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a fascinating story. I'm really glad you got the opportunity to share it. I would encourage anybody out there that's listening, look you up on Instagram, add you as a friend. Check out the video that you have because it's just freaking sweet. I've probably watched it 5 or 6 times. You talked about a couple of things in regards to like the politics of hunting and how hunting's done. So I wanted you to explain the seasons of hunting. So there's obviously fall, winter, bow hunting, rifle hunting. There's waterfowl. There's actually big game. There's a variety of different concepts in there. Could you just kind of give people a quick education for a couple of minutes about the various types of seasons?
Yeah. So, I mean, well, luckily for me and anybody else who's into hunting, and depending on when you want to go, there's hunting year round that can be done, whether it be, all you have to do is want to travel. So if you want to go to the Southern Hemisphere, it's winter down there. So guess what? You can go to New Zealand, you can go to Africa, South America, you can go to a lot of places. And
if you're going grocery shopping, you're probably not going to go to those places. But if you're trophy hunting,
and but still, it's a great adventure. It's also too like a very common misconception, and people do make this mistake all the time, and they confuse poaching with hunting. So when it comes to that, when I'm over there, I've gone to Africa a few different times, and they waste nothing. I mean, so as being the trophy hunter, I can only bring back any hide, horn, antler, bone and it all has to be salt dried. Even down to the crate that it comes back into, it has to be approved wood. Like it can't have any bark on it. I mean, the USDA and our customs are very strict on all of that stuff. That's why we don't have hoof and mouth here. That's why we don't have any of those communicable diseases that other countries, third world countries have, and then pass back and forth because they have loose borders and ports of entry and things. So
I think Alan had a question about that.
Yeah, what's that?
So I brought this up on a couple episodes that we've had. And the concept about hunting had came up, and I told the story about how you had gotten a giraffe, because I remember asking you this.
Yeah.
Because there's a local gun club here we're all members part of when you walk in, Western Wildlife Taxidermy, that's your taxidermy company, right? There's that big giraffe. And I literally asked him, like, so how do you shoot a giraffe? Like, what is the process for this? And I remember you kind of looked at me and you were like, I like this question, but that wasn't a giraffe you would want to eat. And I was like, what do you mean? And you're like, the only way we were able to shoot that giraffe is because that was a diseased giraffe. And they want you to remove those out of the population because of, like, for example, what you just said, right? The hoof and, would you say hoof and mouth?
Hoof and mouth disease, yeah.
But, it was protecting the species as a whole instead of, like you said, the poachers or trophy hunters or people who aren't doing these things or who are doing these things with malicious intent, right? It seems
that would be the poachers, not the trophy hunters.
Yeah, because poachers are basically just taking parts of an animal, and or they're just taking an animal because they're selling it for market meat.
Yeah.
And they're taking it out of season without any sort of regulation or anything like that. Or like in the case of elephant rhino, they're taking just the ivory or just the tusk off a rhino, just for some aphrodisiac medicinal purposes and stuff like that.
Yeah, so, it's like shark fin soup.
Well, right. So, but to kind of correct you on what you just said about with the giraffe. So, the giraffes can be legally hunted all over Africa. I mean, it's not a thing. One thing that the Africans are incredibly good at is raising game and managing it. So
What do you think that is?
they raise game like we raise cows. I mean, and like I said, they're really sharp in doing it. They've brought over Kiwis from
It's
New Zealand and game capture experts that know how to capture things. It was one of the things that when I was younger, I watched. There was an old show on. It was well before your time. It was called Wild Kingdom, and this guy Marlon Perkins and his sidekick, they'd go over to Africa, and they're chasing down rhinos and all this stuff like that. So that was one of the things.
As a form of trapping.
It was a form of relocation.
Yeah.
That's why the white rhino, the black rhino, you can actually hunt them still because of actually hunters. Because
the African cowboys have done a good job managing the Sahara.
Well, that and too, like the money that gets dumped into there from taking one animal, it allows that landowner to go buy, other animals from different herds. So now he diversifies his herd.
Yes.
And they're protected.
The gene pool's good.
The gene pool's good. His animals are protected because he also has game guards, like game wardens that we have here, that are patrolling his property, keeping either his poachers out or any unwanted people out,
or potentially unwanted predators.
In that case, there's not a whole lot that's gonna prey on them unless they're sick or weak or something like that.
So the economy. I asked the seasons question.
Yeah,
I want to follow up with the economy of hunting.
No,
that's
but
a
like
big piece.
But to stay on the season portion of it, like in California, our coastal deer season, our archery deer season started last Saturday. Like we start really early here, but so our coastal season starts earlier and ends earlier. Our mountain season in the Sierras starts a little bit later. Those deer are on a little different antler growth cycles just because of the climate.
And because they shed their antlers every year.
Yes. And so horns that are kept, except for in pronghorn antelope will actually shed that horn. Not in all places, but they do, and can and will. So, the seasons are generally in the fall for, say, bull or buck antelope or animals. So whether it's deer, antelope, sheep, elk, any of those are usually done in the fall from about August to November, December. After that,
is that rifle and bow, or are they split up?
And also it depends on if it's depends on the tag, because the tag can designate what you're actually able to shoot the animal with. It may be an archery only tag, and so you have to use archery equipment only.
So let's use the state of California as an example and give people a description of tags. So you have to apply to shoot an animal, which is not a guarantee that you get the opportunity to shoot an animal.
No, and so there are some units in California that are a general type zone. A couple of them are fairly local, and those are kind of an over the counter. You can buy those tags. There's a large number of those tags,
and those types of tags are what
deer tags.
Deer tags.
Yeah. So when it comes to our antelope, sheep, or elk, California is a very unique place in the fact that we're the only place in the world that has all three elk species or subspecies. So there's Tule elk, which is the smallest one. You have a Rocky Mountain elk, which is kind of the mid-level size one, which you and I shot and hunted up in Oregon. Yeah. And then they have the Roosevelt elk too, and that's the biggest one, and they are big.
Those guys, some of those boys are massive. Those bulls, I've seen some photos recently. I'm like, oh, yeah,
like a hind quarter kind of like the hind end of them almost resembles like a horse. I mean, they're huge.
Yeah. So I mean, if you were doing a trophy hunt, what would you think you'd get off of one of those bulls? 300-400 pounds?
Oh, that's like a grocery hunt, not a trophy hunt.
No, a trophy.
No, if you're hunting a bull,
States,
if you're hunting a bull, and
for horns,
for antlers,
you're getting meat too.
Yeah,
dude.
you're getting meat. So, and you can definitely bring that back and feed the family with that one. And you're probably going to get 300 to 400 pounds solidly.
So the tags.
So the tags here in California, we run on a point system, but the so every year you apply, you get a point. And if you draw, they take your points away, and then you start back to 0. So every year I've drawn a deer tag, I may have had 4 or 5 or 8 points, whatever. And then after I draw it, boom, I'm down to 0 again. I kind of start accruing points again. So like with sheep right now, I'm a max point holder there, and that's the only animal I haven't drawn here in California, and I'm at 22. So that's 22 years consecutively that I've put in for
a tag
with the point system in place. But there was years before that I've been putting in since I was 16.
Okay.
I'm 50.
So let's talk about the Grand Slam for a second, because this is like it's not a hidden part of hunting, but it's just not, if you're not in the hunting ether and ecosystem, you're not going to know about this. So
yeah.
The sheep aspect of hunting, and then this is kind of going into the economics after this. Explain to people what the Grand Slam is and
Okay.
why the tag that you were just describing that you put in for 22 years, why it's so hard to get.
Yeah. So a Grand Slam of sheep is basically your 4 North American wild sheep that live in North America. And that is the desert bighorn, the Rocky Mountain bighorn, the Dall sheep, which is a thin horn sheep. And then there's a stone sheep. And then it's also another thin horn sheep.
And if you want to if you want to shoot all 4 of these animals, what does it take, both time-wise, approach-wise, if you want to go private, and cost-wise, to shoot these things?
Well, yeah. If you want it, probably I've known guys that have put in and drawn at different raffles and have drawn a couple of them that way because their odds are better.
Because a state will do a fundraiser for
they'll have a
specific
fundraiser.
tag.
Yeah, sometimes what they'll do is they'll usually auction that tag off, and so
what would a winning bid be?
So Montana's tag up in the Missouri breaks is usually the tag that usually will bring the most money. It's brought upwards of $700,000.
Holy crap.
And this is the economics of hunting that I learned about when I went on a hunt with him. This is a hidden form of racing.
Yeah.
So that's just one. And so the tag is good.
That just gives you the tag. That does not guarantee you anything.
That gives you the right to
shoot the animal,
Right.
but
it doesn't give you the outfitter. It does not give you any, like you still
what
have to go hire.
What is an outfitter?
So you still have, that's your guide.
Yeah.
So you still have to go hire a guide. You still have to do, you still have to get there. There's a lot that goes into it.
Aaron, can I pull up a picture right now with maybe sort of as an example?
So that's my mountain goat.
Holy,
That
dude, that thing is huge.
That was in Kodiak Island.
That's really
Wow.
rare and exclusive, right? And that's like a very
it's a tough animal. Like that one there, Alaska has a little bit better draw odds. It's about a 33%. I actually drew it on my first time applying, so I lucked out. And
yeah. And that's one of the 4 in the Grand Slam?
No, that's just a goat. So
yeah.
The sheep are their Latin name comes from Ovis, so that's their genus. Well, so the goats, they're Capra, and they'll have that in all of their names. But yeah, so that goat hunt was pretty special to me just because. So I was married and had a hunt booked for a mountain goat the year I got divorced. Had to cancel the trip. So 8 years later, I went and did that trip, and yeah, it was a pretty big one for me just because it was just like it was kind of a culmination of always wanting to go and do one and
a little
finally
serendipitous.
Yeah, it was for sure.
So
is it the meat, the trophy, or both?
So what, as far as with the goat or for the sheep?
Well, the sheep and the goat, are those in the same category for the triple crown?
The Grand Slam.
The
so
Grand Slam?
No, so there's Grand Slams of sheep. So the one that Curtis mentioned was the 4 North American sheep. There's also a World Grand Slam of sheep that encompasses Asia, North America, and like all parts of the world at that point. Because in Asia there's a ton of sheep over there. So I'm talking like China, which is closed to hunting now, but I'm talking like Mongolia, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Azerbaijan, you start going to, even in Kamchatka in Russia, in Siberia, there's snow sheep over there. You run into Nepal and there's blue sheep, Himalayan tar. There's
So
all
is
sorts
this
of
the
stuff.
trophy hunting thing, or is this the meat?
You're not getting meat. If the only meat you will get at that point there is meat that you're going to eat and consume while you're there. But it was usually
because you can't bring it back to the States.
Yeah, you'll be giving that to either locals. Yeah.
The locals there are going to use the meat. It's not going to waste.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was another. I just want to wrap up because there were a couple points that we had talked about. It's the same thing in Africa when you said, "Hey, basically you got to put it in the right crate." The USDA is really tough. That's why we don't have hoof and mouth, all that other stuff. But the locals, they get all the meat and everything else, and they're really good about not wasting anything. That is in Africa, but is that also in many of the other places that you've hunted too as well?
Yeah, I mean, we're so spoiled here because we have a Safeway or a Rayleigh's on every street corner just about. You go to Africa and it's a very protein poor country. And going back to kind of the giraffe situation, so that what you were saying there wasn't entirely correct. So what?
Then correct me because I heard it from you.
Well, no, you misremembered. It's all right. But So I actually went and shot that bull there because what happened is the tick population on that gentleman's property was super high. Like he had an infestation of them. What it was causing is he started with 25 giraffe that were on this property that he put on there. Because like I said, they'll buy and sell animals like crazy, and yes, you can buy giraffe. So while he started with 25, when I was there, he was down to 3. And what happens is these ticks, they bite them and then they give them a parasite. And what it was doing, it was causing congestive heart failure in these giraffes. And in a giraffe, if everybody kind of has a slight bit of common sense, when it takes a pretty good pump to pump that blood up that neck to their head to keep them operational. So their heart's a pretty important organ in their body. So when you start messing with that heart, the ticks were giving the giraffes what they'd call heart water, and it was just basically
like congenital heart failure.
Yeah, and so it was basically filling the sac up around the heart with fluid and causing that. So he had lost a bunch of them. He had basically was selling the last few of them off to basically be able to get them off the property and at least make something off of them. The meat was fine because he sold all of the meat that we took. They butchered it up, went right into a cold box, and they were selling it. And so he was able to do that. But otherwise, if they die out in the middle of his ranch, and his ranch was huge. I mean, you're talking 25,000 acres. I mean, you're not going to get to every square inch of that in a day. And by the time something dies, the only way you're going to know it died is because of vultures are circling.
Yeah, the only people eating are the vultures.
Yeah, and so he loses double on that then, because he there was nothing that he gained out of it.
Have you tasted giraffe?
So we didn't eat any of that one, but most of the animals that we hunted over there, we definitely had either that night or a couple nights afterwards, and there's a ton of it's really good.
What's your favorite animal?
Probably cow elk or axis deer.
Cow elk or axis deer.
Yeah, axis deer are probably one of my favorite, and it doesn't matter what you can shoot the biggest, gnarliest buck in the world, and they're still fork tender and so mild. My ex-wife she'd kind of turn her nose at a deer steak. She'd fight you for an axis steak, and basically that was on a nobody gets that. You're not giving that to anybody type policy.
That's legit.
So let's talk about this real quick. One, thank you for correcting me on the tick. I knew it was, some issue, was why you got it.
Like I said, you misremembered.
Yeah,
slightly.
Yeah, hold on a tick, Alan.
Why is cow elk better than bull elk in the situation that you just brought up when you said my favorite meat is, cow elk, the different genders? How does that change the taste of the meat for you?
To some people it does. I mean, I don't know. I haven't eaten a bad elk, period. I mean, I personally, and I think I've made Curtis a believer of this. It is how they are taken care of. I mean,
from the time you shoot them, or with whatever you're shooting them with, to the time you get them quartered out and in a freezer, that period is really important, and that's how you treat the animal.
Absolutely. I mean, when I took Curtis, and Curtis did amazingly well for a first timer who and made an incredible shot. But we had that animal back into a truck, hung up. It was, for one, we had it field dressed, which was basically removing all of the internal organs, because that gets a lot of the heat out of the animal, because heat and moisture are going to cause spoilage, and there's a lot of moisture in an animal, and so you're not going to prevent that. So you need to get them cool as fast as possible. So that's what we did, and it was 20 below that day. It was exceptionally cold.
We were more worried about it being frozen before we got it completely butchered apart.
Yeah, and actually, when we were done, the skin was actually starting to freeze.
Yes.
And so we,
it's about as fresh as you can get it.
Yeah, it's super. Those animals, we take really good care of them, just because, for one, and especially in my business, I see so many different hunters, and they'll roll up to shop, and they've got their deer wrapped in a blue tarp, stuck in laying on the trailer on the back of their truck or whatever, and bringing it home, and then they wonder why. Yeah, my wife and my kids, they just don't like what I the deer and elk I shoot. And I said, it probably has a lot to do with how you treat them. I mean, it's like, would you go to Costco and go buy all those ribeyes or tri-tips and then go throw them in the bed of your truck, in the hot bed of your truck, and then drive home? No.
For 12 hours?
Or longer, or whatever. No. And so basically, again, it boils right back down to the connection to my food and what we're going to do with it, and why, like when we have our little little softball cookouts and stuff like that, why everybody loves the meat that I bring, because I take care of it, and it's
Aaron
really
takes care of his meat.
Exactly.
Aaron beats his meat. But anyway,
I'm not scared of the animals in your house, and if I ever wanted to rob you, I wouldn't take your money. I'd just take what's in your freezer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that
which
said,
I'll never do, by the way.
Like you said, the guy threw it in the tarp in the back of the truck and everything else. You guys, when you went hunting, you had a generator in the back of the truck, a freezer, everything else. Obviously, it was already freezing. So, that was the benefit of it. But that's a really good point, because like when you and I have gone fishing, those salmon, they're gutted, they're prepped, everything right there, and then they go in an ice chest and they're straight on ice and they go straight home. That was probably about the most comfortable I've ever felt having sushi and making sushi in my life. Because we flash freezed it, obviously, and I think it was like
making your own sushi.
A day or two later, we made that, and it was awesome, and that's to this day the best salmon I've ever had.
Well, and the other thing is too. So with my grandfather and my dad, they made me an incredible fish snob. I don't order fish in a restaurant. I did because I don't know where it came from. The only place I will, obviously, is the sushi restaurant. Having sashimi or sushi, because there has to be a certain level of freshness, and for it to be there at that point.
When McCooney's got some king salmon or something on there.
Yeah, but still. Yeah. For me, there is nothing that beats a springtime ocean run krill fed salmon, because he's been eating little shrimp and they just gorge themselves on it, and it's a very high protein rich diet. That fish is so oily and so it's
so good.
It is the absolute best fish you will ever have.
That's a trip we need to book. We need to get
crazy.
Dude, I'm telling you, the fish, when you pull them out of the water and you beat it with a club and then you pick that thing up, like it is just it doesn't feel like a fish, because when you like movies or you're freshwater fishing, like you pick a fish up and it's kind of slimy or whatever else, that fish, it just looks so fucking healthy. Everything about it smells good. It's in the salt water, so it's kind of got like this briny scent to it.
Yeah.
And you just look at it, and the whole thing from, mouth to tail just looks incredibly healthy. And then, I went this past time and I did the fishing hole, which is a freshwater one, and the salmon don't look like that. But that one was just a different experience, for me fishing, largely because you were having to reel it versus, trawling, right?
Trolling.
Yeah, trolling. Thank you. And that was a workout. I had to reel one in for 10, 12 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a 32 pounder, but when you pull that thing up, you're like, yeah, this isn't an ocean fish.
Yeah. In the freshwaters, when they're basically going to die, they're going to spawn and die.
Yeah.
So, like that fish there, I don't even eat them.
Yeah.
I won't smoke them. I won't nothing. Like I'd catch them, release them, whatever. But that's not my fish I'm going to eat.
There's two things that have really, one, established my opinion for I'd like to start going fishing more, but I only want to be out in the sea fishing. And the reason for that is we had Doris Molokidis on, and she was talking about ocean plasma and
not ocean plasma.
I'm sorry,
she's talking
solution.
about the law of
just hold on. But it was either ocean plasma or the ocean solution.
It was the law of consistency.
Yes,
with the ocean.
The ocean will always clean itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the mercury levels and stuff like that. It will flush that out.
I'm really glad you said that. So, with the heavy metal toxicity, when you get into the deeper parts of the ocean water keeps itself clean, and that's what all those fish are in.
Yeah.
Doris had mentioned, hey, she talked to some guy. The guy who was at a harbor, and he asked the guys that were doing a bunch of fishing, "Have you ever seen a sick fish?" And he said, "No." Never seen a sick fish, and he's been doing this for 40 years. And then she talked about this ocean plasma, and it's a whole segment. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna butcher it because I don't know it well enough. But I'm not done yet. Yeah. With RFK, with Junior, he was talking about how in the fresh creeks he used to go fishing as a kid, and now he can't go fishing in the freshwater areas because the heavy metal toxicity from, let's just say it's cement processing plants or whatnot. Those fish do not have the same nutrient profile as they used to have 50, 60, 70 years ago because of the pollution in the rivers. So if you can go to the place where the water's the cleanest, that's going to give you the best product.
Yeah, like when I was in Mongolia, there's a river that runs through, kind of the edge of the capital city of Ulaanbaatar. Anything downstream of there, that river was basically dead.
Yeah, the
dead
river.
Because so what they have a lot of tanneries there for a lot of nomadic goat herding and things like that. So, but they were still on the whole formula of using heavy metals, chromium-based tanning solutions that would get dumped back into the river. So they were actually working with some companies from Holland for water for purification and things like that to clean a lot of that up. Upstream of that was fine, but so yeah, it's definitely a big deal.
And the specific comment that he had was on the Hudson. RFK said he was an environmental lawyer, and he was suing all these companies and everything else who are polluting into the Hudson. And now the Hudson is one of the most biodiverse rivers in North America. And what he was saying, like you were talking about, was the law of consistency with the ocean, how it basically cleans itself. And the point that he made was, it was Renee Quinton or somebody that Doris was talking about, which
Renee
basically
Quinton,
said,
I think that's actually his name.
How or have you ever seen a sick fish in the ocean? And the ocean fishermen were like, no. And they pretty much said, like, there's really no age in the ocean because everything in terms of all the trace elements are proportionate with the law of consistency, versus when you go into fresh water, that's when you would start to see those fish that would have cancer and all these other issues, biological issues, because basically the law of consistency had been broken with the bioavailability of micro
when fish
trace
die
elements.
When fish die deep in the ocean, they just kind of turn belly up and they go and they float to the top, but that they don't die because of cancer and things like that. They just die because that was the end of their lifespan.
Well, not necessarily. Sometimes
No. I was quoting Doris Molokidis, who was on the show a few weeks back.
Yeah. And she said that basically the cell age was the same as the cell age on younger fish, even if that fish was near its gestational end of life. No, that's wrong. Gestation, wrong word.
End of life.
Yeah, end of life, right? And that's what she was talking about. And then she also brought up how the whale, there was a mother whale and a baby whale that had died, and then they had taken something out of their brain, and then they had tested it, and they basically said, like, oh, the cellular aspects of these and the age is exactly the same.
I thought she said gallbladder.
Something like that. It was all I know. It was an organ. Portion of
it was an organ. Yeah.
So, but a lot of those things, like when in the ocean, I mean, there's very cyclical things in there that come up. When you have red tides, high plankton blooms, and stuff, or high algae blooms, that will cause toxicity in, say, like crabs and things like that.
Toxicity of the water killing the fish, but not the actual fish dying of an issue with the fish itself, and the water's perfect.
Yeah, but still, like they can be. I've seen them
They're essentially getting
born with
they're getting
deformities
asphyxiated.
and things like that. Yeah. Or they pick up, or they're not even, being asphyxiated. They're just basically picking up the toxins and retaining them until the water kind of cleans out of that algae bloom, goes down, and then they kind of everything they still flush out, and everything's fine again. Okay. There's certain months where
so we got a couple other topics here. Really, you have bull riding is something in your career. The PBR. I'm not a cowboy. That's one segment. I really want to dive into the taxidermy side of your life and your business, and then really get into the trophy room design and talk about some of the economics of taxidermy and trophy room design, because there is so much money in hunting, taxidermy, and trophy room design that I was completely shocked with how that world works.
And then before we hop into that, if you could change the regulation for hunting and game management in California, how would you do that?
Oh man, where can I start? Do you have another 3 episodes? Because
rattle them off.
No, it's just our fish and game department, unfortunately, has been kind of taken over. The proverbial fox is in the hen house, and where you have animal rights activist groups that have, or people with a little bit more liberal, values and don't want hunting, will basically hold back on us having more seasons like right now.
So what would you change for big game hunting, waterfowl, and then let's just say like fishing?
So for big game hunting, for one, I definitely bring back trapping, bring back hound hunting for bears and bobcats, and even have a spring season for bear hunting for us. We have a very, very healthy population of bears. And back to when I was telling you about, we were hitting that quota. It was 1,850 bears when we were running them with hounds, and we were hitting that pretty consistently, year in and year out. And then they took it away, and it dropped dramatically. And so then the animal rights activist groups kind of came at Fish and Game and said, we want to stop this hunt because you're not even taking your quota now, and there's a less population, which wasn't true. You basically took the
ability to find them.
Well, you took one of your most valuable tools and one of your most highly effective tools in hunting bears out of the equation. So so right now, with the way in my business and how I see it, the lion's share of our bears get killed within the deer season. So by accident, circumstance, guys are out deer hunting, see a bear, shoot it if they have a bear tag in their pocket. So that's what's happening there. After the deer season is pretty much over, we see a pretty steep decline in bears that come into the shop. Just, it's kind of the way, there's less people out in the woods at that point. So that's where you're seeing the drop off, and it's just not as effective as being able to run them with dogs.
Okay, go ahead, Kurs.
Like fishing and then waterfowl. Would you change anything in those two areas?
Fishing, that's a whole other thing too, because they started a lot of these protected marine areas that we can't fish that we used to be able to fish. A lot of the crabbing closures coincide with whale migrations and all this kind of stuff now, and there's a lot of that stuff that it is strictly political, and so I don't know.
I think the fishing one's probably the harder one, because you have commercial fishing, which is really doing a lot of destructive things, versus line fishing.
Sure, but like a good thing this year, in the Bay, they've had a tremendous California halibut season. The limit was 3, and basically what they've done with those guys is they cut the limit back to 2, because they were catching limits every day, and they don't want to deplete the resource and it be crappy next year for years to come. So they actually made the regulation during the middle of the season, said, hey, we're going to drop the limit back to 2. 2's still enough fish, and and
people are still hitting 2. So
oh yeah,
and it's
hold on,
2
hold
a
on.
day.
2 a day.
Yeah.
And then there's usually a possession limit. It's usually twice the daily bag limit. So if you can have usually 4 in possession, 2 per day. So
when you say 4 in possession, so that means you can only do a 2-day trip.
Yeah, or you need to eat some.
Okay.
So it's either those 4 in possession, or you need to start consuming.
So you and 5 buddies go out, and you're the only good fisher, and your 4 buddies suck, and so you can continue fishing because everybody's got to eat.
Well, on a
Yeah,
boat,
he can catch them, but they would go to the buddy, and so
on a party boat like Alan and I went on, they have a boat limit. So if I'm the only one catching fish, which can happen, and then basically I can give you
You're
fish.
just cashing fish for everybody.
Yeah,
Hey.
I can give you fish at the end of the day.
one
or
of my
whatever.
fish.
There you go.
I'm puking. Aaron goes, dude, you got one on the reel. He literally gets the line, runs it over to me. I get it. We take it to the back of the boat, right? Because you got to get it under or over everybody's lines, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got to pull their reels in. And then I'm reeling the thing in, and thank goodness it wasn't that big, because as soon as that thing got up and in the net, dude, I was like, take this.
Yeah.
Savage. I wish you would have just been reeling and like, wow, and just kept reeling at the same time.
No,
That
I've watched it happen.
Yeah.
Not with Alan, but I mean, I've watched.
I was at
happen.
that point where it took everything out of me when it happened, so I didn't want to have to then buy a reel.
Yeah, that's true. Those things are expensive.
So with waterfowl, I mean, we have a very high pintail population on our flyway, probably better than anywhere in the world. It's a species of duck. I mean, I would raise that bag limit to, probably 2 or 3, probably to 2. It's at 1 right now, and it's
sounds like
kind of ridiculous.
It sounds like active moderation really kind of needs to be the solution when you look at on an annualized basis. Are people doing enough of a certain activity? And if they're doing enough of a certain activity, are they doing enough of a certain activity successfully? And then kind of having moderation of like, we should promote the ability to kill more of a certain animal or to take more of a certain fish, or reel some of that back, not from a fishing context, but like you said, maybe it wasn't the right time for them to do that, but go from 3 to 2, or hey, if you allow the ducks
waterfowl
to get shot for 2 or 3 years and that population kind of normalizes, then you bring the numbers back down. That active management seems like that's the missing piece.
Well, not in all places. It's basically what it boils down to is sustainable use. So, you don't want to. Mother Nature's a bitch, and she doesn't care what you do, I do, or what. She's going to do her thing.
Right.
And like where we were at when we were hunting those cow elk, those were depredation tags. And that was
there was a lot of them.
And there was a lot of elk. And so the premise behind that is to get those numbers down in line with what the habitat can support. And because what happens there is you get diseases that Mother Nature has, mange, distemper, starvation, any of those, that when they can't find what they need to survive out there, and it's a tough life, she can kill off an entire herd, an entire species in an area for a long time, if not for good. And when you get any sort of disease or things like that come through, it's where the hunter, we come in there and we shoot one and shoot a couple, and it's a pretty quick death, and away we go. If you're a big game animal like that, and you're deer or an elk or a moose, and say you get mange, which is a mite, and causes you to lose your hair in the middle of winter,
Dead.
Yeah, slowly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people don't look at that part, and their blanket answer, especially if they don't know, because back when I was in high school, I had one teacher. He was my high school biology teacher, and he'd let me teach the class for a day, and I'd bring in some smaller mounted animals, some hides, some traps, and actually teach the class on wildlife management. And I'd get some pushback from a few students, and it was like, give me 10 minutes. If what I'm talking about doesn't intrigue you just a little bit, he has a place for you to go to in the library, and you can dismiss yourself. You don't even have to ask a question. I'm not going to stop you, whatever. Nobody ever left. And it was one of those things that, I took pretty good pride in just being able to, so much of it is either media driven. Disney is a huge culprit.
Fucking Bambi.
Well, no, it absolutely is. So those misnomers and those fallacies that are just put out there about hunting being bad, or any types of, wildlife management that involves hunting, trapping, fishing is just really looked down on severely.
It's really it's managing the ecosystem. So keeping the population at a healthy state is really important, because allowing a couple sick animals to be around can actually cause much more detriment than potentially overhunting, because it could wipe everything out as opposed to take out more than half of the numbers. So I think that when people have a negative connotation around hunting itself, they really just don't understand all of the variables at play. And this is not just like an issue with hunting. This is, forest and land management for all the wildfires we have here in California.
Yeah.
And doing
Spotted
prescribed
owl,
burns.
all of that.
Yeah. And performing prescribed burns. It's really about keeping our ecosystems in a healthy state. You have seen quite a bit of stuff over the last 20 years?
35.
35?
Started when I was 16.
He's got that AGE, man.
You started when you were young. I just didn't know what the actual date was since you've been running Westward Wildlife Taxidermy. Can you just give us a behind-the-scenes look at what it's like running a taxidermy operation at any point in the day for you?
Yeah. Well, as you guys know, I mean, you wear many hats, and in running your own business, it's you can be cleaning the toilet from one day and writing the checks the next, and all inside of 10 minutes. So, but over that 35 years, I don't know, it's diversified a lot. It was pretty simple, obviously, when I first started out. Then, just doing kind of local stuff, simple stuff, deer, bears, elk, and then branching out into international big game, figuring out that process. And I did that pretty quickly. I have a customs broker that I work with that I've worked with for about 30 years. And so her and I and her husband, they clear stuff for me. They've cleared stuff for Dick and Mary Cabela when Dick was still alive. So the Cabela stores, they know what they're doing. And so, there's a lot of these things that have just kind of gone through a maturation process over the years that it's been kind of cool, to see where it came from, to see where it is today, and it's still growing. It's kind of crazy. It is definitely kind of crazy. Where the fact where we used to, charge a certain amount for a deer head, shoulder mount at this time, that's our deposit now. So the prices have really stepped up. But also too, just like with everything post pandemic and things like that, materials got a little tough to source, and all of those materials got exponentially more expensive. So we've seen that too, with foam prices. All of our mannequins that we use that we mount our animals on are all polyurethane foam forms. So it's a 2-part foam mixture. It's an A and B part mixed up, put into a mold. It's made to expand, and then that's our form, and that's our basic beginning. So we can cut them apart, do whatever we want with them, and create anything. Let your imagination run wild in your checkbook. So, and we can do whatever you want.
and your checkbook. So I would also assume you've been doing this.
Because we can do anything you want. It just costs money.
Yeah, 30 plus years, right? Mm-hmm. I would imagine your work product is quite great. I've seen some of the work that you've done. I mean, huge 9-foot tall bears, all the way down to, I've seen some birds in there, right? And
we've done everything from a rat to an elephant.
Yeah. And I mean, your
Literally.
work is just, it's...
that's your new tagline, by the way.
It is second to none, is what I've seen. So
Appreciate
Over
that.
the last 30 years, how did you, like, what were the defining moments from going from just, some like local game to now probably one of the most well-known taxidermists here in North America?
Well, it's it's one of those things where, you're with any business, you're going to make mistakes. And it was definitely failing forward and learning. There's been a lot of just growth that has come out of it, and also being willing to take a chance on certain things. I mean, the first time I went to go mount a deer, I was working, in the shop in Old Town Roseville, and I told John I was going to mount a deer, and he laughed. And so I was like, okay. And so I mounted that deer, and I mounted a bobcat too, which I still have. And I took it to our state show that year, and I think I won a third with the deer, and I won a third with the bobcat, and I won best of category or something like that. And by chance, the year before, he had taken a deer and a bobcat, and he had won a third with both of them.
John did.
Yeah, and he'd been into it for, those were the first animals I had mounted.
And you were in it for 3 months.
Well, no, I'd been working for him for about a year at that, a little over, but it was a short time, and those were the first animals that I'd mounted. So, and then taking that from, there was certain things where I just kind of always figured out a way of, where was the money, where I didn't really necessarily like to do birds. I did birds, but then I've got great employees that are fantastic, and do them very efficiently, because I don't want to be just a big game guy. I don't want to be just a fish guy, a bird guy. What do you have? What do you need? Oh, you need your trophy room, redone. You need your trophy collection from your passing husband, assessed and valued and done. We've done appraisals,
put up for auction.
No, we've brokered the sale of collections. So that's one of those. I looked at no as a bad word, and all it was going to do was cost me money if I said no. Because if I said no to your bird and you took it to this guy over here and he did birds and deer, next thing you know, he was going to be his customer. So it was about retention, and how could I retain you and keep you here, and we take care of everything you need. If we need all of your trophies cleaned in your house, we're going to come over there, we're going to take them out, we're going to, clean them all off, dust them, shine them back up, make them look all nice and, pretty again, put them back up there, tell you if there's any bug issues or anything like that, if there is, and carry on. On to moving collections, broker the sale of them, appraising them, redoing trophy rooms, installing new trophy rooms, or just, it may just be your son's first fish that he caught. It doesn't matter. I mean, it just came down to what do you have and what do you want done with it. And I mean, obviously within guidelines of the law, because we've done all sorts of protected birds, but they come with lots of paperwork. And we just won't do anything without that. I mean, it has to have all of that.
Well, yeah, it's got to be above board. Now,
yeah, for sure.
What's the process if somebody, for whatever reason, comes to you, Mr. Yes Man, and says, hey, I would like to, hire you to be a taxidermist for whatever I have. What's the process generally from start to finish look like, and how long does that take?
Yeah, so right now we're out quite a ways because we're very busy. Probably here within the last 2 years, there was about 8 taxidermists that left the area, and even at that time here, we were already very busy, and then it just got ridiculous. So, I mean, there's that, and we work a lot of hours to try, and are still working a lot of hours to get caught up. I'm not sure if that caught up thing is ever really going to happen, but I mean, it's a good and bad problem to have.
You just have a work queue, it sounds like.
What's that?
You just have a work queue, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's constant.
Yeah.
And there's never a time where I'm sitting there going, man, I wonder what I'm going to do today. You're going to work your ass off today is what you're going to do, and just keep doing it and keep doing it. And that's it. I mean, my boss is a dick, but he pays me well.
Yeah, I know him too. He's a real dick.
Yeah.
But so what does that process look like? So they bring their animal to you.
Yeah.
Then what do you do? Like what is that process?
Yeah.
of
So
getting it complete?
so with the different animals, it's a little different, just depending on if it's a bird. They'll usually bring me the whole bird. We'll usually stick it in the freezer until it's kind of time for us to start messing with it. Then we'll skin the bird out. And basically you are basically just taking the skin off of the bird with the feathers intact. You take the legs off. The wing bones will stay intact, and remove all the flesh, fat. We wash the skin, degrease it, wash the feathers, because a lot of times there'll be blood or dirt or whatever that may be in there, and we'll get them all cleaned up, get them all blown back dry again, and then mount them on form and whatever position the customers ask for. With a deer or any animal that has has hide and fur, we're sending them to our tannery after we've fleshed the hide, got all the meat and fat off of it, and then we'll dry them with salt. The salt will the hair follicle is like a cup, and so the hair sits in there. And what causes the hair to fall out and for the skin to spoil is bacteria. So bacteria will act as like a lubricant. And if bacteria grows, and there's two things that cause bacteria to grow, and that's heat and moisture. So if you have too much heat and you have obviously moistures in the skin already, and you allow that to stay, what will happen is, regardless if you salt that skin and there's too much bacteria in there, it'll act like a lubricant and it'll let that hair fall out when it goes through the tanning process. So when that skin's nice and fresh, because we can't use anything that's spoiling or anything like that or rotten, it won't survive the process because it's already being broken down by its own time and bacteria. We'll take that, we'll soak it down after we get it back from the tannery. It basically turns it into leather with the hair on. We'll get that back. We'll soak it down. We'll get some measurements off of it, order a form, and that form's that polyurethane form that we were talking about earlier. And we can either alter it, cut it apart, make it what we want. And then there's actually anatomically correct eyes that are painted per species for that animal. We'll put those in there, put the ears back in there. And there's usually an ear liner that goes inside the ear. We'll remove the cartilage because the cartilage will cause them to curl a lot of times.
So a lot of people, I would imagine, they go, oh, you're a hunter or you're a big game or a trophy hunter, whatever else. What they don't know about you is you're also an artist. You very much are an artist bringing these animals back to life.
Right.
And like I said, I've seen some of your work. It's second to none. And I'm really excited to be able to show some pictures of trophy rooms and other things that you've done on the final sort of touched up version of the podcast. But let's say somebody didn't have to wait for you.
Hold on, Alan, hold on. We do have some photos available here that Scott's got off screen. So
that was a short-eared owl that we did for a nonprofit. That owl actually passed away. It was one of their birds. That was a pair of bobcats with a covey of quail. That was my muskox that I killed in the Arctic Circle up in Nunavut. So that was one of the bear skulls that I was telling you about, that we actually took. That was a bear that was killed last year, and with a completely shattered jaw. So we processed that one, cleaned it all up, and you can tell that bear had actually had a broken jaw for quite a long time because it was calcified. And you saw that real rough spots on there. And
how do you think the bear broke its jaw?
Who knows? He could have gotten a fight. He could have been hit by a car.
Yeah.
I've seen all sorts of things when it comes to them, and that they've survived broken toes, broken legs.
Shit happens.
You name it. I've seen them where they've survived gunshot wounds, being shot. I've found fully mushroomed bullets in there, stuck in the hide before, that they've been shot through and through, and it stayed there and recovered the bullet, and they've healed and gone on. There's there's a couple animals I've seen that have been shot with arrows and survived. And
Damn.
it's
Animals are resilient.
It's that will to live is incredible.
I agree with you. So the question,
wait, there's a couple more photos. Scott, you want to pull those back up?
That's a trophy room that we redid. I actually mounted that elephant too. That was the brown bear that I killed with my bow.
holy crap, that thing's huge. There's a goat.
Mountain goat. So that was that's a Grand Slam of sheep right there, and I was actually on 2 of those hunts with that guy. He actually hired me on his last hunt, the Rocky Mountain Bighorn, the one on the left. He bought that tag and went to Wyoming, and so each state has governor's tags where it could be anywhere from 1 to, like, Wyoming, I think, has 7. And they put those usually up for auction. And he bought that tag for, I think, $78,000. Yeah, and that was on the cheaper end, because that tag was usually going somewhere around $90,000. So he bought that tag and hired me to go out there on the hunt with him. And I took care of the animal, brought it back, mounted it, and kind of the condition was that I think we shot it in September. He wanted it in his house before Thanksgiving, and
it was a fast turnaround,
super fast, and it cost him, but we did it. And like I was gonna ship it, and he's like, it's not leaving your site.
Is this the guy you drove across? 3
days. Yeah. I drove from here to Blackwood, New Jersey, and installed it in his house and flew home.
Yeah. Savage.
Aaron told me the story on the way home from the Oregon trip. So the guy basically just told him, he's like, hey, you're not letting that thing out of your sight.
Yeah. And the sheep that was on the top, the white one, the Dall sheep, that's actually the hunt that I met him on. He had killed the one on the right is the stone sheep, the dark one, that one there. He killed that one before I'd known him, and then he was on his Dall sheep hunt when I met him, and then he went to Texas and shot the desert bighorn, which is in the center below him, below the white Dall sheep, and then the last one, his Grand Slam ram, was his Rocky that he shot.
So for this is like something that if you're an avid hunter, a Grand Slam is that the mecca of hunting?
For the most, because it like that's gonna cost you like. So his little Grand Slam of sheep right there, it cost him about $250,000.
Just to shoot all 4 of those sheeps, or to shoot them and the taxidermy?
Sheep hunts, taxidermy, all of it kind of all rolled into one, because we did his little room, and that's kind of a small scene, but it was a really cool one just because it was small, but it showed him off really well.
So how much would those retail for? Like, let's say you had an estate sale, people passed away. The
fraction of that.
Yeah, but what I was saying was, like, is there a secondary market?
Oh, there is. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple companies that we work with that auction taxidermy, and that we've worked with on several occasions. That that's what they do, is they will market a lot of that. And there's a couple guys that I know that's what they do, is they sell old taxidermy, or take it and they'll either they'll say, like, that old moose mount was a really awesome set of horns or antlers, but the mount was kind of beat up. So what they'd buy it, take the antlers off of it, get another cape, another hide for it, remount it, and then sell it there on a secondary market. To, you get some of these, like, restaurants or, different places that will want them and put them in entryways and all sorts of stuff. So he's had quite a bit of that.
So help me out here. So let's just say start to finish, you had time. Somebody brings you a deer.
Right.
And they want you to do it start to finish. Generally, about how much time does that take from them bringing the...
On our normal turnaround time, we really like to keep it down to within a year. Right now, we're about double that. We're about a 2-year wait right now.
Well, you're at from the time you get it to the time you deliver the finished product?
Right now, yeah.
And that's because of how long the process is?
No, it has to do with our backlog.
Okay, but generally speaking, let's say that your backlog is...
Say if we had one piece and we walked it through...
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you can do them pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys are obviously very popular. Like I said, work product is second to none. But that's just a good general rule of thumb. If somebody was looking for a very high end, very quality taxidermist, if they were looking at a time frame or whatever else, they could do that. And then obviously if they were a pre-existing client or the pay was higher, they could speed that up. But Chris, that was everything that I had on just the timing.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about the trophy room design next, because this is sort of the next evolution of the I don't want to turn money away chapter in the book of just generally making more money. You had just done what I think is your first large trophy room build out. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, in this concept, yes. It's not our first trophy room we've done. We've done a lot of redesigns, kind of shuffling of the cards, take everything off the walls, redo, rehang them.
Is this your first one that you've fabricated from start to finish?
Yeah, in this capacity. But I mean, it's nothing that we haven't done on a lot smaller scale. It was just on steroids. That's
right. The depth of the work done was a lot deeper than traditionally.
Yeah, it's just like I said, much grander scale. Instead of using a panel to make a particular piece, we use 60. So,
and we had talked 19-foot ceilings, 1,400-foot space in the game room for this gentleman's house that you did this for.
Yeah, and basically it took up 2 of the walls.
About how long did it take in terms of time to complete the trophy room?
So, from start to finish, and we've still got some finalization that we've got going on, you're running right about 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
And the thing that really stuck out in my mind is when you told me the cost to build this, because it's such a highly specialized unit of work to get done.
Right.
And there's not a lot of people who know how to do this. The price point on these trophy room build outs, the market rate is a couple $100,000 to start.
Easily, yeah. Just it depends on how many panels you're going to use, and how extensive the habitat is. You start adding trees in there, it gets real expensive real quick. You can have a $30,000 tree in there. It gets substantial, but it all comes apart. It's not real wood. So there was a scene that I did for a client here locally that was just with some ducks. He had 10 mallard ducks that he wanted. And he wanted them all mounted he told me initially, he's like, I just wanted to mount them, like on fishing line hanging from the ceiling, like they're flying. I said, well, that's kind of 1970s wants their duck mount back. I was like, we don't really do that kind of thing anymore. Some people may, but we don't. So what we did is I went and looked at the room where he was wanting to do it. And what I did is, fabricated a branch canopy of a tree that it cantilevered off of a beam off the side of his room, came up, it split the light that hung over his pool table, and all of these birds were coming through the tree. So like back in Arkansas and where they hunt a lot of hardwood, flooded timber, and even some places here along certain sloughs, you'll get birds that'll have to drop through the trees, and they'll come down pretty quick, and that's kind of what he was wanting replicated. So that's what we did, and so I fabricated this thing. It all came apart, but I went in there and installed it and put 10 mallards in there, and he was a happy man.
So it's a modular system. So when you go back to the trophy room design, the trees are obviously modular because these scenes essentially there's maintenance associated with them. They have to be cleaned on every occasion. I don't know what occasion is or how long that is, but the build out of these rooms start at probably a price point. Is it like 300, 400,000?
Well, it depends. Like I said, it just depends on how big or small. I mean, I've looked at rocks or habitats that we're looking at are 10, 15,000, but they're quite a bit smaller. I mean, this one here was 60 panels ish, and these panels are they're like 4x8 sheets of plywood almost, and they're actually
I sent Scott a photo. He can pull it up.
Yeah, they're foam panels. There's framing that goes on underneath them, so there's a lot of stuff that kind of goes into it. So inside this one, actually, there's a closet inside of it. So there's a cave that goes into it. So it's not just dead space underneath it. So there's a big storage area underneath there. A lot of guys we've had that have put gun vaults in there, bathrooms that they've hidden in there.
The man cave.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, that's what this is. It's just a big man cave. There's going to be a bar in there. There's a big 70 or 80 inch TV in there.
Is that a large build out? Would you say that the medium size, large size? I don't.
That
think
one's
small.
that one's kind of medium-ish. There's one of the other guys that's in the business that I know he doesn't touch a room if it's under $1 million. But he's also done $40 million buildings too that are 3 years.
Holy shit!
And that's huge. The Champion Ranch. I mean, it's a big place, but it's also hundreds and thousands of square feet of just trophy display.
It's a work.
It's a museum.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is
honest.
about museums, because this is basically the stuff you'd see in museums.
Yeah, it's essentially. I mean, that's what it is. So, I mean, this isn't new to our industry at all. But just with time, the materials have gotten better. Where we used to have to do a lot of this stuff with burlap and plaster and make all this stuff. Now these panels make it a lot easier because we can screw them together and break them up, and every one of them is completely unique to itself. So it makes it pretty. You can just kind of let your imagination run wild. It really kind of gets my creative juices flowing because it's something I really like, and none of it is ever the same, ever.
That is so badass.
Look up at the screen.
It's so different. So that's just within the last couple of days, and that, we've introduced some of the animals that are actually going to be in there, and it's kind of coming together. The last little bit of foliage we've got to put in there, but that place it's going to be really, really cool once it's all done.
That is so slick.
Yeah,
it's sweet.
It's one of those things where I kind of just sit back there and kind of go, damn. I mean, what I had in my mind was really close, but there's a couple different places in that mountain where, we put the rock up and
Doesn't look right.
that looks like shit. And we just take it off and
Come up with something new.
Yeah. So, and just redo it. And it worked out really well, and it came together really, really nice.
To Alan's point, I didn't really think of your business this way, but you really are an artist.
Yeah, it is. I mean, what Alan said was very true. There's just not, and it's kind of what dictates the price point, because there's not a lot of us out there that can do it well, and do it with the detail and knowledge that we have. I mean,
let alone the
'cause
construction ability.
It's the accuracy too, right? You know what these
Exactly.
animals look like in nature. You out of everyone, for how long you've been in this industry, it's like
right.
there's so much they're paying for.
Right. And it's like that knowledge is really kind of priceless, because it's like, where else are you going to gather all that and have that in one person or a couple? Because it's like, my buddy Eric, who works with me, and we're partners in this company, it's one of those things. It's like, I can put something in his hands, and it's like me doing it, and vice versa, because we got in the industry about the same time. We've done a lot of the same things, but still, like, we both bring a lot to the table when it comes to, doing these different things, where he's maybe done more of these projects, on his own, where I have a really good depth of knowledge in, building and construction, because that's been part of my background too.
Correct. Do you mind if I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
And also, like, for example, let's say somebody goes, hey, I want to have this display of sheep from, South Asia or whatever. It's like, how many people have been to Mongolia on a hunt that can say they did that? Okay, well, I know what the landscape looks like. Like, what time of the year are you thinking?
Right.
Okay, does that match? I'm not sure if, like, the animal looks differently or sheds, but it's like, does that match the time of the year in which you shot this thing? You have all these things that go together with that artwork. And then, like you said, when you were creating it and you're piecing together and you were like, oh, those rocks don't really look that good. That process, like, this isn't something like it's construction, like lay it out, build it up, slap it up, do whatever. Like, yeah, you're doing fabrication, but it's also custom. And then I equate it to not only being an artist, but then being like a subject matter expert and going, hey, these two things don't go together. We're not going to actually put it in there. So it's like, it's this very interesting blend of science and artists. And I'm
Right.
really digging it.
No, I've actually stopped clients from, because they have an idea of certain things, and unfortunately, fortunately for them, I have the experience where I've seen so much of this stuff, and even though, yes, it's a dead animal on the wall, if we want to get down to the brass tacks of it, but if they're hung wrong, displayed wrong, they scream at you. I mean, it's a little bit of that interior design and knowing what's going to work and how things need to flow. Like when you walk into a room, like that room that I think that Scott showed that had the elephant on it or in it, we redid that entire room. That room has 204 pieces in there. And when I did that room, things were in there and they were just kind of hodgepodge together. There was really no rhyme or reason why stuff was put up there.
It's like when they got shot. If they came in,
well,
that was my 49th animal, go in the 49th position.
Well, no, they just went up on the wall for whatever reason. So I went in there, took everything off the walls, filled every hole in the wall, repainted, and then started fresh. And so when we went through there, separated them by African animals, North American, dangerous game, spiral horned wall. That was the 4, how we split it up. We had a little Southeast Asia section in there for the stuff that he killed in New Zealand and Australia. Yeah. So when we did all that and got finished with it, I think there's a picture in there too, Scott. That room was very packed, and he had a crocodile that was taking up a lot of room. We actually ended up hanging it from the ceiling.
Have you ever killed a crocodile?
No,
Is that on your list?
At some point, like I said,
shoot him, Michelle.
No,
shoot him.
That's an alligator.
Shoot him, Elizabeth.
Yeah. But no, there's a lot of other things that I'd much rather go after than that. But I mean,
I want to ask you a question. I've seen your products. I'm seconding what Alan says. You're second to none, in my opinion, for the work that I've seen and the level of craftsmanship and the level of detail. It's just the eye for the detail. When somebody is wanting to build a trophy room, like the one we just showed on the screen, 19 feet foot tall ceilings, 1,500 square foot space, tons of animals, different layers, a cave with like a hidden closet in it. What is different between you and everyone else in the industry who can do this? What makes somebody want to say, I want to work with Aaron Armstrong?
Well, when it comes to that, I mean, it's kind of funny. We really take a real depth of pride in our work. I don't have 15 employees that are coming in there and we're just kind of running a mill, and knocking this thing out and we're in and out of there. We're working efficiently, but we're gonna take that extra time to add these little details that a lot of other people just aren't going to. Our price point's a little bit better. But also too, I mean, but even then, I don't fault our competitors for their price point or what they do. It's what they do. I mean, there's a certain amount of people that are going to go with them. There's a certain amount of people that are going to go with us. And I mean, there's enough to go around. Even in the taxidermy industry, I couldn't do everything, even if I had a gang of employees and whatever. It's not really.
You're not going to be able to meet the demands of the entire market.
No, and there's really no reason to try. I like to do other things
because part of your value is the fact that you still actively hunt. You still actively do these trips. For 22 years, you've been trying to get that tag for the Grand Slam. Like, that's part of what makes you great is you have this symbiotic sort of relationship with also the animals in the process of getting them, not just the process of putting them in this art form, right? Once they've been killed. But on the flip side, you're also a pretty badass CrossFitter, and you also rode bulls. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think with the health and fitness type things that kind of bonded there is that with hunting, you're eating the organic of organic. There's nothing better than that. I know how that animal was, dispatched, taken care of, processed, and now he's on my table. And like, I raised my daughter that way. That girl has 0 food allergies. She doesn't need to be gluten-free. She's not lactose intolerant. She's not any of those things, but she was raised pretty much exclusively on wild game or fish that was in our freezer that I caught, or crab that I caught or bought straight off my buddy's boat that was still alive. So that the hunting balanced out the nutritional portion of it. And, both of you guys are both really fit too. So, I mean, in our kind of group that we hang out with, we're all, have that like mindset of that lifestyle, because it is a lifestyle,
It is. It 100% is a lifestyle. I really think when it comes into just our crew in general, people out there aren't going to know who it is, and I'm not going to talk about it. It's basically just a bunch of dudes, doesn't matter what age you are. We get in and we get after whatever workout we're doing, and somebody comes up with something, and somebody else always makes it harder. And at the end of the day, we all get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And we just do that on repeat. And it's a way of conditioning ourselves physically and mentally. And it's basically, I've described this to people over the last 4 or 5 years as like, if I'm going to war, these are the people I'm going to war with.
Fuck yeah.
I've seen their mentality get tested. I've seen them when they're tired. I've seen them when stuff goes wrong. I've seen their physical abilities. Like, if I'm going to have to go and get in a firefight with somebody, I don't care how old these people are. These are people I'm going in with, because every one of these people, this is the unit I want. I have no bad sheep in this squad.
Yeah, there's no quit in here. I mean,
no.
Because
you got to kill me for me to quit.
These are lions we're running with. I mean, if there's weakness, it's going to get found. You will be that 3-legged antelope on the plains, and we will start messing with you.
It happens.
Yes, it does happen, and it happens to all of us too. Because it's just like that little chink in the armor, and everybody kind of straightens you back up real quick, and it's like, oh shit, yeah.
You get pounced on.
Yeah,
in a friendly way. But yeah,
and sometimes not so friendly, because sometimes we need that.
Yeah,
true.
but still, it is that definite iron sharpening iron. And there's a bunch of sharp motherfuckers in that group.
Yeah.
It's the reason
Sorry about
why...
the language, but still.
It's all right. I say fuck on here all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it my fucking turn?
Fucking go.
Yeah. Oh, fucking K.
Don't shut the fuck up.
I won't. Let's go. So I have always described this group of people, like you said, iron sharpens iron, running with a pack of lions.
Mm-hmm.
I've always described them as working out with the savages. You want to be around those type of people, especially as a male, because masculinity is not toxic.
It's a dying breed.
Masculinity is actually in the core of being a man. And when you're in a place where you get to build, you get to sharpen, you get to work on that, you get to practice your discipline, and then you get to be around other examples who are leading their families, who are, the breadwinners, who are working out hard, who are selfless, who are family first, who are focused on nutrition and health, who are doing what you're doing and going out and hunting for your food and fighting for your way and building that community of people. And I mean, we all hang out together. Like this is our tribe. We talked about this with Doris Malakidis, that we as a society have gotten away from sort of our tribal communal living. And that was really how we work and operate. And that's how we work best. And so when I say, working out with the savages, I think about it as like, this is our community of people that, like Curtis said, if we're going to war, like if shit's, going to hell in a handbag, like I know who I'm trying to figure out, hey, who's still alive, who's still here, like what are we doing? This is the group of people, because like Doris said, hey, I got a 400-acre ranch, it's off grid, I have a doctor and this and spec ops and security ops and whatever else. I think to myself, like, these people here all have unique skill sets from.
The crazy thing is we all live within about 3 miles of each
Yeah,
other.
I know. That's the crazy part.
It's pretty amazing. And so, I mean, with that, yeah, it's a good group. It's a solid group with a lot of different, talents and personalities in it. But man, like I said, there's not better people when it comes right down to it, and they know who they are. You'd like to have in your corner, and it's one of those things too, where the types of people that if you needed anything, your wife taken care of, your kids picked up from school, whatever, you could trust them with that. Yeah.
You're not even gonna think twice.
No, and that's the great thing about it. So yeah, it's a good group, but also in there's a lot of very driven people like yourselves, business owners, very sharp people, bright minds. I mean,
we're excelling in their careers, family lives. Yeah, kids
right.
are all well put together. It's a culmination of a variety of things that really promote a level of masculinity that I think is incredibly healthy.
Yeah, it's very, very much something in my life that I have to have and be around, because me being kind of one of the older guys or basically one of the oldest in there, you guys push me and make me better, because it's like, damn, if I want to be taking up the end or anything like that.
Yeah.
You
and I actually got to compete in a CrossFit competition together. It's a shame I didn't send the photo for this, but we got to go to the CrossFit Ranch and do a little charity fundraiser in 2020
during COVID. Well, and that was another thing too. Like our group during COVID was very indicative of how we operate. I mean, like we didn't do a lot of what the media was telling you to do.
We opened up the gym doors.
Well,
and we hung out just like we normally would, and we worked out when we normally would. And guess what? If one of us were sick, we just didn't come.
Right. I
don't know how true that one was. It was
every once in a while there was
Chance is not a part of the group.
Yeah. But no, I mean, still it was just, I mean, we had get-togethers, but we operated as normal. And
yes, business as usual.
Yeah, it was, but also too, like if somebody was sick, it's like, hey, do you need anything? There was all of that. So it's just kind of like, when you're running with a group like that same kind of group are the group of hunters that I tend to try to be around and stuff too.
I wanted to ask you a question about the types of people in the hunting industry.
There's good and bad.
Good and bad.
Yes.
Okay. And with the good ones, hunting's a very physically demanding way of life.
Yeah.
Do you find that a lot of the hunters are physically fit, or do you find that they could just kind of be lazy and use money to pay an outfitter to do all the work for them?
It depends. I mean, I think the health and fitness portion part of it has been greatly emphasized, and an awesome microscope has been put on it by like Cam Haynes. I mean, run a marathon a day, and he trains to hunt, and it's great. My buddy Chad Mendez, the UFC fighter, he's a savage. He gets after it all the time, and he's retired now. So, but he's still very physically fit, and I mean, I don't see that guy, taking very many days off, and he's got multiple companies, wife and daughters, and things like that. And same thing, even like with Cam.
He's
moving.
Mean,
those guys are going. Same thing with myself. I'm not doing that either.
You and Chad connected actually on a fishing trip, right?
Yeah, well, I'd known him before that and stuff, but that was the first time I'd actually got to go and hang out with, just kind of have some of that, outdoor time with it. And
you had an issue with your elbow that you had from your PBR days.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, you did PBR for a decade. I mean, talk about a ruthless sport. But you and him had the same elbow, or the same orthopedic surgeon for your elbow.
Well, I don't know. The surgeon actually
was he on the trip too?
The surgeon was on the trip. I think the surgeon was on the trip by accident, because we kind of absorbed some members of a trip that were on those same dates. So I think that's kind of how it happened. But Dr. Mora he's worked on Michael Bisping. He's worked on T.J. Dillashaw. Kamaru Usman. He's worked on a bunch of UFC fighters.
He's the fighter's orthopedic surgeon.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I don't know if he's done anything with Chad at all, but he had definitely worked on his fair share of MMA fighters. And when I explained to him what was going on with my elbow, I was lacking motion. My range was cut way down. It just all of a sudden kicked in, and yeah. But it was also my writing arm, so I hadn't been nice to it, over the years.
She had taken a beating. Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, let's save the bull riding, because if you would like, would you be open to coming back and talking about the bull riding days and all that crazy stuff? Because I feel like there's a decade worth of discussion in that for fun.
Yeah, sure, whatever. I mean, that's not a problem. I mean, it's a segment of my life, but I mean, yeah, it was fun. It was, I watched. I was in the PRCA first, which is a Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association. That was the ones like it puts on that like Folsom Rodeo's affiliated with. But the PBR was actually formed by 20 professional rodeo cowboys that were 10 or 12, 20 bull riders. They all put in $1,000, and a bunch of years later, they sold that thing for just under $100 million.
Savage.
Yeah.
And like anything else, got to be driven, got to be fit, and you got to be determined to find whatever success looks like for you.
Yeah, but they wanted to elevate the competition and everything. The bulls, the cowboys, all of it. They wanted more money, and so that was the way to do it. And it was all the best guys in the world. I mean, when I was rodeoing and riding bulls, it was really, in my opinion, really one of the best times, because all the who's who, all the guys that the kids know about now are all the dudes I was riding during that same during that same time.
It was also you've told me a couple stories, like all things in the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s. A lot of that era was still very dangerous. I mean, you told me you'd seen a couple of guys pretty much get killed on impact.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, Mike Mason, he was killed at Folsom. And that was right because most of the guys now either wear helmets that are made for riding bulls or kind of a modified hockey helmet.
Yeah.
They have, we had protective vests that have like a protective hard shell on the outside with a padding underneath. They came from the equestrian industry. They're a little different. The equestrian industry they're a little bit more mobile. These vests that we have are made to take blunt force trauma. They're made to take getting stepped on. They're made to take horns getting hit by a horn. I have a protective vest that still has a dent in the back of it from when I got hit by it. And it knocked 3 rib heads out of my back and out of my sternum.
Yeah, Jesus. I was pretty terrified the first time and the only time I hopped on a bull. And it was
mechanical.
It wasn't
I was going to say.
Bull. It was in
what
Lincoln.
Was her name?
It was my hey baby. It was my freshman year of college playing football, and there was some guy out there, and he was just good old country boy, and he's like, "Hey, we're going out to Lincoln to go ride some bulls, whatever else." I mean, this is what he had done his whole life. He's like, "You should come on out." So I'm like, "Okay." So I put some boots and a jean on and go out, and he goes, "Hey. So what do you think? Do you want to ride one?" And I'm looking at him like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like I'm from like suburbia. I have no clue what the fuck I'm doing.
I'm from the Ville. Man.
Yeah. And he's like, no, we got like a smaller, medium sized one. We fine. We'll put you in. He said Kevlar vest, but it was more like what you described.
Yeah. And
I thought it was a hockey helmet, but maybe it was a bull riding helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I'm like, fuck it. We'll give it a shot. Look at the bull. I'm going to hop on. And I'm like, it's not that big compared to the ones they're riding. No, they're all fucking big. That's just what it comes down to. And even though mine was smaller.
They're over 1,000 pounds, every one of them.
So I'm sitting on the bull, getting strapped in, right? And it's shitting and flipping the shit up in my face with its tail as I'm sitting there getting ready. And then they open the gate, and I have never in my fucking life gotten over a fence so fast when I got booked. I mean, I don't even think it was more than 2 seconds there, and I wasn't counting.
Yeah.
I was like, why did I fucking do this?
Yeah.
Alan ejected himself. He's like, I'm out.
No,
Yeah.
I got on. It bucked me off, threw me up against the fence, right? And I just, like, my eyes must have been the size of Texas, because as soon as I realized, like, where I was and, like, I had come to, I have never got over a fucking fence so fast in my life.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, yeah, I'm never doing that again. That's just not for me. Jumping out of a perfectly good airplane and hopping on a bull, not me.
I've done both.
You
Not
know,
me. I would do it if I had to do it, but I'm just saying, if I have an option to not do it, I don't think that's for me.
You know,
Yeah.
Alan, I gotta say, you must be good at getting out of fences in high pressure situations, because when you had your wreck at Sonoma, you got off the track and over the fence pretty quickly.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
same thing.
so like the Jackass movies,
Yeah.
and any of the bull scenes or the Toro Teeter Totter, that came from Cotton Rosser up in Marysville. Yeah, and so, but those were all filmed at my buddy's dad's ranch, Judd's dad, Gary LeFew, down in Napomo, down by Santa Maria. So they filmed all that stuff down there, and yeah, Judd he's the same age as me, and we rodeoed together and things. So it was his dad was a world champion, and still runs bull riding schools to this day. He's kind of a personality all to himself.
So the place that I went to was
interesting.
out in Lincoln. So if you drive through old Lincoln,
that's the high school rodeo grounds.
No. It wasn't the high school rodeo grounds. It was a private ranch.
Oh, okay.
So I wasn't sure if you know of it, but basically it's the old Highway 65. Once you get past that manufacturing facility on the right before it starts going into
Okay.
Wheatland,
Yeah.
then you hang a right on, I don't know, whatever side street it is before Dillard's, the gun range.
Uh-huh.
And then it's like 10, 15 minutes
Gliding or-
back there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know the ranch.
Yeah, it could have just it was probably just a private place. Yeah. But so when I was coming up, I mean, I don't know how much you want to talk about this or whatever, or you want to save it for your other episode.
Yeah. We'll have you come back and do that.
Whatever.
But I mean, the bull riding stuff was definitely a very interesting thing to talk about. So for me, who was like, yeah, never again, you're like, fuck yeah, let's do this thing for 10 years.
Hey, what was the longest you ever rode a bull for?
Oh, all you
was
need
your
to is,
record?
all you need to is 8 seconds. That's when you get a qualified ride. So and then you get a score after that. So if you don't ride them for 8 seconds, you get 0, nothing.
Okay, so eject your seat at 8 seconds.
Pretty much.
All right.
Get off or you get ejected off. You know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeehaw.
But
Yeehaw. Aaron,
But-
it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank
Thanks.
you very much for coming on the show.
thanks, boys.
I appreciate
Appreciate
it.
you.
And, we look forward to having you next time.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Hey,
Thanks.
if people want to find you,
Yeah.
how can they get a hold of you?
So we're on Facebook and Instagram. That's pretty much our modes of
Western Wildlife Taxidermy?
Yeah, you can search for on either place and find us if you type in Western Wildlife Taxidermy and search for us.
And
we're there.
personally on Instagram, you're also _Aaron. That's AARON.
Yeah.
Hunts HUNTS_.
Yeah, and then there's also Western Wildlife Taxidermy on Instagram too, and it's just spelled out, all one word.
What about your new trophy room design business? Is that that's a different name?
Yeah, so that's Trophy Mountain Concepts, and so that's we're kind of in the infancy of getting that up and rolling and things like that. It's definitely going, but
If somebody wants a trophy room, they could contact you
You
personally
through-
on Instagram or any of your Western Wildlife Taxidermy.
yeah,
Currently.
easily, yeah, and we can, and the thing is, we're not stuck to California. We can go anywhere with it. Our suppliers ship, and we can do anything anywhere.
All
So-
right.
Great. And if they
So-
want to get a hold of you, they can call 867-5309.
Yeah, they're gonna get Jenny. But,
All right, and we're done. Thank you
Okay.
guys. We'll see you
Thank you.
later.
okay,
Bye.
take care.